As project managers and leaders, one of our core skill sets is delegation. We're trying to get things done through others. That's what leaders do. The question is, how do you delegate effectively to your team members? How do you make sure they've got everything they need in order to take on a new delegated activity? And how do you set them up for success? On-the-job training is one of the core ways that learning and development take place. 70% of learning and development take place in on-the-job training situations. It's actually the way that adult learners learn best. Delegation is the process of handing over work to someone else. You do that by following a couple of principles. Number one, you define the task. It has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You document the task. What does the person need to know? What do they have access to in order to do that task? And point three is knowing who has the skills. You want to build on skills, not create a mountain someone has to climb to learn all new skills in one moment. Next, you want to confirm what success looks like. Sometimes it's not so much about the how, but about the why and the what. You want to actually prepare people with the outcome-based view of the world. Agency is an important part to taking on any task, and indeed, you cannot build skills if you're just doing something like a robot. So give people the chance to put their stamp on it, do it their way, once they understand the quality, the requirements of time, and the final outcome you're looking for, included if some kind of task relationship exists, so that writing this article relates to our communication strategy. You may not want to explain it all, but people have to have a basic understanding for this. And the next point about delegating a new task is checkpoints. You want to have little check-in moments from time to time just to make sure people are on track, they haven't lost their way, they haven't got any questions. It can be that you only do that once or twice, stop by someone's desk. It can be a formal process where you actually review the content at some point. Either way, it really depends on the task. But making sure you're checking in means that you don't wait a week, come back and find out the person was stuck and was afraid to ask. So before you go through all of those tasks I just mentioned, you might want to think about a couple of things. Start by looking at what to delegate based on priorities and workload. You don't want to overwhelm somebody with new work that's already barely getting everything done. There's a quote from Warren Buffett that says, if you want to be successful, say no to almost everything. If a person understands they're overwhelmed, they actually should say no until they can figure out what they can say no to in their existing job. That can be reallocating, simplification, and automation. Those are the easiest ways to get rid of basic work. Once they've done that, they can take on new work and have room for learning and development so they can grow their skills. Until then, adding work on work to a person who's already overwhelmed won't give you or them the outcomes you're looking for. Analyzing yourself to figure out your strengths and weaknesses. It's often the case where you think, I'll keep all the things that are my strengths and I'll offload the things that are my weaknesses. And that can be extremely efficient and effective to do for yourself so that you'll have time to do other things. But also think about a chance to develop people. You might find work that is interesting and you're good at, like scheduling, planning, writing an article to inspire someone, creating the documentation for a stakeholder meeting. Those things may be very important work and work that's necessary, but if you can grow someone by letting them try doing a part or all of the work so that you can later review it, that's even better because your strength might end up being used in the review and the assessment. So if someone else is doing the work for, say, the stakeholder report, you can actually sit back and review it as if you are a stakeholder and make the document in the end even stronger. That's essentially leveraging your strength but letting somebody else learn from it. And then you actually grow because you're taking the next step. That's a great use of delegation. Here's a quote from the Gallup poll people that I thought was really interesting. It says, employees who use their strengths at work are 8% more productive and 6 times more likely to be engaged. Using your strengths at work makes you higher productive and more engaged with the job. In other words, you become a higher performing team member. That's not just for you, but it's for your team as well. So make sure that your team is being engaged and is getting challenged with new work. We have to sometimes ask ourselves if work needs to be done or needs to be done this way. Sometimes we become very invested in how we do things or why they're done. Don't make that the roadblock to giving delegated work to somebody. People want to be confident. They want to be enabled and they want to do great work. Your job as a manager, as a leader, or a project manager is to help them do just that. So delegation, it's an art, and you can master that art. If you want to know more, check out my blog below, and if you want to create a high-performing team and a high-performing culture, check out this video. And I'll see you next time on ProjectSkillsMentor.com. Bye-bye, everybody.